I'm Dave Yacavone. I'm the state representative from Morrisville here. This is Rich.
Oh, that doesn't work.
Doesn't
I'm
work.
Rich Westman. I'm the senator from here in the county.
So we planned this all over the state, which is great.
And we're both on the Appropriations Committee. Dave
Yes.
in the House and me in the Senate.
So the whole idea here is for you to share how you think the state budget should best be spent in 3 minutes or less. Okay. I'm gonna try to pass this mic around for folks, and I'll try to bring it to you. And we've got no particular order here. We're really grateful that so many people have come this evening. It's awesome. So the first person is Matt. Where's Matt? Right here. Matt, what's your last name?
Neckers.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So I'll read quickly. I know a lot of people have things to do. So, hello, my name is Matt Neckers. I teach creative media art and design at Green Mountain Tech in Hyde Park, and I'm here to support GMATV and all the work they do with students. I'm sure people are talking tonight about the myriad of essential services public access TV plays in our communities, but I'd like to focus on the one that I have the most experience with, education. GMATV's studio is literally right next door to my classroom at Green Mountain Tech. Lamoille Union High School and Middle School are also a short walk from their classrooms. This gives hundreds of students access to equipment, space, and especially the expertise of GMATV's staff. GMATV's staff have significant industry experience inside and outside of public access TV. Tim and Amy have both worked in television in New York City. Mike is an independent filmmaker, and Maya is a graduate of my program, and she's filming right now. GMATV staff have always been incredibly generous and willing to help students. They have often reviewed my students' portfolios, provided help with their film projects, judged our annual Skills USA Digital Cinema competition, answered questions, and provided help with technical issues. They've even supported students through challenging personal issues outside of school. In Vermont, public access TV stations are also one of the very few viable options for students trying to get their start in the television industry, and GMATV has given several of my students their first paid work in television. I also believe that one of any school's most important responsibilities is to help students think critically and understand the world around them. Understanding how media is created and how television works provides students with media literacy skills, which are so important in an age of limitless information. I only have a couple minutes tonight. If I had more time, I could go on and on about the things that GMATV has done for students, but I'm here to ask you to continue to fully support funding for GMATV and public access TV in Vermont, including $500,000 appropriation for community media centers and $100,000 for right-of-way revenue, expert analysis, and recommendations. These stations provide crucial opportunities for students in our larger community.
Person, I think it's Jan Gardiner. John, sorry.
Can I give you this?
Thank you. Sorry.
That's
Close.
all right. Yeah, close. Good evening. My name is Joe Gardiner. I am the Youth Development Coordinator for the Lamoille Restorative Center. The Lamoille Restorative Center, located in Hyde Park, holds several of our county's youth programs. These include the Youth Development Program for youth in the foster care system, which I coordinate locally, a work development program for young adults and youth, a youth case management program for youth with an incarcerated parent, and our student attendance specialist, known in other areas as a truancy officer. We collectively serve well over 100 young people every single year. Thank you to the Vermont House and Senate Appropriations Committee for holding this public testimony. I know as state leaders you have to address many difficult issues facing Vermonters and make tough funding decisions. I'm here to testify on the importance of healthy, safe, and enriching after-school activities that can be accessed by all of our youth, regardless of their income or where they live. This space collectively known as the third space for learning. Here's a few key points. For working families, after-school and summer learning programs allow working families to hold jobs and be at work full-time. In fact, here in Vermont, 77% of kids between 6 and 17 have both parents in the workforce, and thus these programs are absolutely essential to parents. Second is food. These programs provide important access to healthy snacks and meals, and especially matter during the long weeks of summer when school is out. The third point is academic outcomes. After-school programs engage students, offer help and remediation where needed, prevent summer learning loss, and are recognized as an essential strategy in addressing the academic achievement gap. Not all of our kids in Lamoille County are getting the same opportunities and supports in this third space for learning. Our rural nature, transportation needs, and costs are prohibitive for some of our families to engage their children in the fabulous programs that we do have in Lamoille County. For those youth that cannot reach or afford these great activities, their time in third space looks much different. I can speak from professional experience that there is way too many of our young people who are stuck at home, feeling isolated and alone. The good news is that in 2018, the legislature recognized that young people need engaging opportunities in the third space to grow into happy, healthy Vermonters. Thus, you invested $600,000 from a recent tobacco settlement funding in order to increase after-school programs. Thank you. That change has already started to make a difference in our community. In order for us to reach all Vermont state youth and to make it a truly equitable process able to be utilized by all of our youngsters, I humbly request funding continue to support the youth and future success of our proud little state. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope that you will join me in recognizing that young people make a better Vermont.
Thank you. Ruth Ann?
Hi, thank you. I don't know how many of you have heard of VFV, which is Vermonters Feeding Vermonters, but that's what I'm here about. I live in the town of Cambridge, Lamoille County, Vermont. I've been volunteering with the Cambridge Community Food Shelf since 2005. Sadly, our numbers of clients have grown consistently, and they continue to grow, in spite of what the media claims. I heard on the news that the federal budget is cutting food stamps, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, any of the safety nets. And so the food shelf is one of the safety nets. I realize there's a finite amount of state money available to grant every wish, fill every need, and solve every problem. This is like Thanksgiving dinner with one pie that we're all trying to split up and make sure everybody gets a fair share. While Lamoille County and the Cambridge Community Food Shelf is not currently participants in this Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program, I certainly support the idea. I understand that Copley Hospital is interested in this project. Imagine fresh, healthy food to those who can least afford it. We need to expand this opportunity for healthy food to all Vermonters. No one in this country should go hungry or be in need of food. Good food should be available to everyone. The first thing you see when you go into a grocery store is fresh produce, and it looks so good and so bright and so fresh and so healthy and so tempting. Now think to yourself what food you buy for your personal family and what you can afford and enjoy. And then imagine all of that gone, not available, not affordable. Is it rent or healthy food? Is it gas for the car, or do we get something to eat? No family should have to make that choice. Did you ever see the BOGO buy one, get one sales on cans of soups or boxes of chips in the store? Well, I see this as the same concept. The concept is Vermonters feeding Vermonters. Support the farmers to produce food for the ones who need the fresh produce. Help one population with financial support, and then that group helps another group, like paying it forward. Let's see. Money stays in the state. Families have access to healthy food. Farmers have secure income and markets. It's not often you have such a clear win-win initiative. In summary, I support this scaling up the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters because it helps two groups of people, not just one. Thank you.
Next up is Floyd Nice.
So Jody, where's Jody? Did I get you to join me? And Eileen? So hi, my name is Floyd Nice. I'm the Executive Director at the Lamoille Family Center in Morrisville. I live in Jericho, but I get to drive back into Vermont every day for work. So First of all, I want to thank the legislators for what you did for us last year. The ongoing money has been spent on staff salaries, increasing staff salaries to almost competitive levels, and to filling some holes that we have in some of our programs. The one-time money is being used to fix a long-standing leak in the roof, and we're a little bit afraid of what's going to happen when we open the wall, but we're going to do it in the spring. And I want to thank both of you gentlemen for being our champions. You folks have been our champions last year. You helped us get that funding last year, and we only got a couple more asks for this year. So I'm hoping that you're going to pass S-263, which is a bill sponsored by, lead sponsor is Senator Westman, and I understand that this past week you got it through the Appropriations Committee.
No, it's through the Health and Welfare Committee. It's in Appropriations, and we were waiting till after tonight.
Oh, okay. And so what we're looking for, as you know, is to rewrite, there's a statute, the parent-child centers are in statute. And this rewrites that statute. It was written in 1983 and it needs to be updated. And so we're hoping that you can push for $4 million, and I'm sure that's at the top of your list. The other thing we're looking for, though, and it's really important, is that our Children's Integrated Services Program is, there was a rate study done this past summer, right? We were the program that we were providing, according to the state, we were providing the highest level of services in the state. We had the third highest caseload requirement and the lowest reimbursement rate in the state. So what they did is they did a rate study because there were wildly divergent rates around the state. And in the rate study, they discovered that it costs $633 per member per month in order to provide services through CIS. A month later, they executed contracts that will pay us $502 per member per month. So there's a $130-something gap that's very real. And it's not our numbers. That was a very expensive consulting team that came out here from Arizona to do that rate study. So it's DCF's numbers, not ours. So there's that. And I had a conversation with Phil Scott not long ago where I explained to Phil, I said, you know what we do is we help people build bridges to their future. And I asked him, I said, you used to work for a company that builds bridges, right? And he said, yes, I did. And I said, well, did you ever accept a contract from the state that didn't pay what it cost to build one of those bridges? And he said, no, I guess I didn't. And I said, well, we have 3 contracts here like that. So I want to introduce Jody to talk a little bit about CIS.
3 minutes, Jody. Thank you.
My name is Jody Martin. For the past 21 years, the Lamoille Family Center has played a pivotal role in my family in multiple ways. 21 years ago, I made a decision that I wanted to be able to earn money to support our growing family, but I also wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. The obvious solution to me was to open a registered childcare in my home. LSC was where I turned for support and direction. Throughout the 7 years as a home childcare provider, I found support from the Family Center through ongoing trainings to support my professional development as a provider to the young children that I cared for. I also received support through the food program and in getting answers for questions I had around subsidy and other logistical matters that came with running a childcare. When I started the childcare, I had 2 children, one of which was a newborn. 4 years later, I gave birth to Jonah. Little did I know at that time how crucial of a role LFC would soon play. He was 4 months old when I began to notice that he was not making the eye contact that I knew he should. By 6 months old, Jonah should have been doing more physical activities, such as rolling and sitting up. I knew he wasn't meeting important developmental milestones. I brought my concerns to his doctor, who referred us to the Lamoille Family Center. A service coordinator from LFC came to my home, saw that Jonah and I needed support, and connected me to a team of therapists and specialists. There were many people coming into my home on a regular basis. The LFC team was and is family-oriented. They respected me as the head of the team, and my ideas were heard. I remember them asking me about my goals. You know your child best, they said. It was empowering. Jonah made significant progress because of early intervention. It was slow but steady. He went from laying on the floor to sitting up to scooching across the floor on his bottom. To some, these may seem minor, but to us, they were huge milestones. The team clearly wanted Jonah to meet his maximum potential. As time passed, the team helped my family set up meetings with specialists. Jonah was identified as having a genetic abnormality in chromosome number 8, a rare birth disorder that left him visually impaired, nonverbal, and wheelchair-bound. The LFC team helped my family transition to the public school district, where Jonah would continue receiving services. They professionally set Jonah up to be successful. If it wasn't for LFC and the support we received, we would have floundered in the unknowns, not knowing where to turn or how to navigate the seemingly confusing and at times frightening new territory. We were overwhelmed with the needs of our child, the broad array of crucial services he needed, and the emotional roller coaster we were on. Along with the support we received through our family, church, and our faith in God, LFC was instrumental in guiding us through those early years. Now, while I continue to be a parent and advocate for my child and other children, I'm supporting parents and children in the same way that I was supported. For the past 8.5 years, I have been a developmental educator and service coordinator for Children's Integrated Services at the Lamoille Family Center. I make sure parents know that I respect them as the best expert on their child like I was respected. Jonah is now a junior at People's Academy here, high school. He has a group of good friends and a ton of support. He is easygoing, always happy, sweet, innocent, and a blessing to us and many others. People are drawn to him, and teachers often comment on the positive impact he has on his peers. And he is still consistently making gains. I went to work at the Family Center because I wanted to give back. My experience informs my practice with families. I want families to feel as supported and empowered as I did when the Family Center came into my life. I know that LFC and all the parent-child centers can help in a way that will have lasting impact. Our family is proof of that. Please fully fund the parent-child center's essential work with families with young children.
My name is Eileen Pause, and I'm a board member for the Lamoille Family Center. And I appreciate this opportunity to make this important point. The family environment sets the stage for the child's success in adulthood. And it's no surprise that growing up in a nurturing, supportive family with strong bonds is the foundation for becoming a resilient adult. Sadly, in Vermont, over 1/3 of the children under the age of 9 are exposed to traumatic events, including abuse, neglect, household dysfunctions such as mental illness, substance abuse, and incarceration. These are called adverse childhood experiences, and they have early negative impact on brain development and learning. The lasting impact brings this child into adulthood with greater risks for injury, poor physical and mental health, substance abuse, struggles with financial stability, and difficulty forming stable relationships. I am a Vermont Chronic Care Initiative Kid Nurse Case Manager, and my role is to coordinate and provide care that will support a person's autonomy and wellness. To meet their complex needs, I work collaboratively with the resources and services available within this community. These are social supports that are outside their medical home. In this community, the Lamoille Family Center is the key community partner when there's a family in need. I am one of many state of Vermont departments that will call on the Lamoille Family Center for services to support families. I witnessed the pain and struggles and the physical and mental illnesses, substance abuse, unstable housing, unstable food, and even homelessness that began well before my services came into this person's world. The good news is ACEs are preventable. Programs such as the Children's Integrated Services provide an early childhood home visitation that support parents to provide a safe and stimulating environment for their children. Through these home visits, children will be healthier, achieve an educational goal, and as contributing adults will be part of their community workforce. The need for the financial support from the state of Vermont to continue this important work is mission critical. The economic benefits of support of the parent-child centers will save the state of Vermont money in healthcare, substance abuse treatment, and incarceration. This is truly an ounce of prevention, which is worth more than a pound of cure. Thank you for your ongoing support of the parent-child centers.
So we wanted to introduce Auburn Pat, who is the representative from this district with Dave. And we wanted to introduce Dan Noyes, who represents Belvedere, Johnson, Hyde Park, and Wolcott.
Nicole, you can stay right in your seat if you want. There you go.
That's all right, thank you. First, I want to say thank you to Dave and Rich for all you do for our county and for taking the time tonight to listen to all of us. Your work doesn't go unnoticed. I'm Nicole Fournier Grissgrabber from Meals on Wheels of Lamoille County. I'm the executive director there. Since October of 2019, when our fiscal year started, we have served 11,582 meals year to date. That's a 17% increase for home delivery compared to last year. Our delivery routes are at capacity right now. We're discussing adding another route, if not two. This trend will continue as Vermonters continue to age. What does that mean for Meals on Wheels Lamoille County? Well, it currently means that we will serve 6,000 more meals that our current contract with Central Vermont Council on Aging will cover. That means it's leaving a $22,000 gap, providing there's no additional funding. Meals on Wheels of Lamoille County has 261 older Vermonters that receive meals through home delivery and congregate meal sites. Our services help 88% of older Vermonters remain in their homes, and 92% report that they are eating healthier foods and feeling better because they're doing so. We're here tonight to ask you to please consider the additional funding request that V4A has made. I'd like to introduce Kathy Snow, a Meals on Wheels volunteer driver and a board member and community member, to share some stories.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'll make it brief. When I retired, I knew that I wanted to volunteer in the community, and after researching, I decided to give my time to Meals on Wheels, mainly because in my life, seniors have played a large role in my career and my personal life. I have watched as people I love and those I was connected to in my working life have to go into nursing facilities or move in with their children because they couldn't age healthily in their own homes. These are people who have been important, vibrant, and productive members of our community and contributed in numerous ways. Meals on Wheels helps all of us age more successfully as we are able to stay in our homes, rely on delivered nutritious meals, and a visit that is ultimately also a check-in and maybe just the one social interaction that that person has that day. Funding for the Meals on Wheels program is something we must have. I drive and deliver meals. I have worked in the kitchen doing prep work. I work waiting tables on Wednesdays when meals serves to the public, where many seniors look forward to gathering for a social outing and a meal. I also sit on the board of Meals on Wheels because I believe in it deeply. Our aging population need to know that we respect and honor their existence and that we should do everything possible to see that they receive our dedication and funding for this program from our representatives. In closing, I see firsthand that so many of our seniors are forced to make choices between heat, medication, and food. Let's not have food be the one thing let's not have that be one of the things they have to go without. That one meal a day means so much in their health and welfare. This is shameful, and I feel it is not going to get any better. Please think of your own family members when making your decisions on funding, and also know that we will all be them someday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Beth Welch. There you go, Beth. We'll just pass it down to you. You can stay right where you are.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Beth Welch, and I am the Director of Career Development at Northern Vermont University in Johnson. And I look around this room and I think probably there's a few people who've attended Johnson back when it was Johnson State College and maybe now as Northern Vermont University. And I know that there are great organizations here. We're all vying for that piece of pie, and a lot of them employ our graduates. So in about 1960, the state of Vermont promised in a law to either fully or substantially support the Vermont State College system. And back then, it was about 50% of our budget was covered by appropriations from the state. And since the 1980s, it has gone down over and over again till it's less than 20%. And this is why our students are leaving saddled with high debt. We ask you for more money every year, and you've come through for us quite a bit lately. But we're still at the bottom of the country as far as supporting higher education. We do a great job graduating our students from high school and not a great job sending them on to college. And so I'm here to ask you to really take this seriously. When you look at what happens in our communities because of the Vermont State College system, you consider what would happen if any of our institutions were forced to close. It would be devastating for all of our communities that depend on this as millions and millions of dollars that are brought into our county and our state. And so I really would love for you to just stand behind the Vermont State College system and don't let it fall apart. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chad Herman. I'm the Unbound After School Director right here at People's Academy. It's a middle level and high school site serving grades 5 through 12. I've been involved with the Unbound After School program here at People's since 2016, and for the last year and a half, I've been the director. Prior to 2016, I didn't realize how big of an impact out-of-school time programs have on the communities they serve. Unbound serves over 300 middle level and high school students annually, as well as a handful of private school students and homeschooled students. 40% of those students attend regularly, meaning they participate 30 days or more throughout the year. These numbers indicate that out-of-school time programming is a much-needed and valuable resource to families in our community. I am very thankful that the community I live in has out-of-school time opportunities for my son, for my nieces and nephews, and for all other families that live in my community. These opportunities give youth the skills and confidence they need to be successful students and leaders in their school communities and beyond. Knowing that my son is in a safe place amongst his friends and peers where they can explore, learn, and take risk in a positive and supportive social environment is peace of mind that allows me to fulfill my professional responsibilities without worry. I also think about the many communities in Vermont where families don't have access to expanded learning opportunities and wonder how they accommodate. I have seen firsthand the difference out-of-school time learning opportunities make for youth and the way families in our community thrive because they know their students are safe. It's a resource and a support that all youth deserve to have access to, and we would be denying them a better future if we didn't do all that we could to move forward with After School for All funding.
Michele? Coming to you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Michele Wallace. I'm the Director of Community Health and Fresh Food Initiatives at the Vermont Food Bank. The Food Bank is a statewide organization serving approximately 153,000 Vermonters a year. That's about 1 in 4 Vermonters access food through the Food Bank and our network of partners, food shelves and meal sites around the state. I'm here tonight to express support for new funding in the amount of $500,000 for the Vermont Food Bank to scale up our Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program, which was mentioned earlier. Vermonters Feeding Vermonters is an exciting and innovative program where the Vermont Food Bank and our partnering food shelves and meal sites are purchasing fresh local food from Vermont farmers. I believe that everyone in Vermont should be able to access the incredible abundance of fresh local food that is grown in our state. And this program is a win-win-win. Vermont farmers get a fair price for their product, as well as a dependable and reliable sale with contracts that are arranged at the beginning of the season. This is good for farmers. This is good for the local economy. Vermonters who may struggle accessing enough food are able to access fresh, healthy food. This food includes nearly 40 different types of vegetables. This is good for Vermont families, for Vermont seniors, for Vermont children. And this program is also good for the environment. It's reducing our environmental footprint significantly in terms of our need to source fresh food from other regions of the country. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I'm not sure the next name is Celia? Celia? It's Kaylie. Kaylie, well, that's why I wasn't sure. It is spelled different, though, isn't it? There you go.
Thank you. I like to joke that my mother didn't make me out for testimonials or politics. My name's Kaylie Galloway Kane. I'm here tonight as a resident of Hardwick and the project director for the Reach After School and Summer program, which serves the Orleans Southwest Supervisory Union. First, I want to thank you for inviting us all to speak and for listening even to Caledonia residents. Our program serves 3 elementary schools and over the past 20 years has served 54% of our district's school population with a budget of under $300,000. And that's split between state funding and local funding. After school and summer programs are essential. They are safe third spaces, they are enriching, they boost academics, and they support social and emotional development while also providing safe spaces, as Chad was saying, for working families where families know that their children are cared for. In 2018, the state provided $600,000 in the After School for All grant, which did great things for many sites. However, it is not nearly enough. It's only double my individual budget. If we want all of our children to have access to out-of-school programs, we must increase our investment. Currently, according to Vermont After School, 22,000 students in the state do not access after-school programs, but would if it were available in their communities. So I encourage Appropriations to think about how we can continue and grow our investment in after-school and summer programs, and thank you for supporting After School for All. Thanks.
Next is Kathy. I can pronounce your name.
You knew it. Hi, I'm Kathy Demeyers. I'm the Executive Director at Lamoille Home Health and Hospice, and I'm here tonight to ask for support for increases to the Choices for Care program, which there is no increases noted in the governor's budget this year. Currently, the Home Health Agency, we serve 46 highest needs patients on this program. These are nursing home level of care folks that we keep in the community. So if we didn't have these 46 people, would have to go to a facility somewhere. We have one nursing home in this county that has 72 beds that are usually always full, which would mean they'd have to go somewhere else. We really don't want them to leave our community. We want them to stay here where they're with their families. We also visit 101 moderate needs folks through this program, which we assist them with cleaning and cooking, shopping, errands, socialization, and that's also funded through this program, and that just helps keep our elders home also. Sometimes it's the first step until they get to the highest needs step. A big challenge we have with the Choices for Care program and administering the program is filling the personal care attendant positions to do the work. We see a very high turnover, 29% in my agency, and we have a continued vacancy rate. PCA work is hard, it's demanding, but it's incredibly rewarding. But to fill these positions and retain staff, we need the ability to increase the wages. So I took a little look at my losses for last year with the Choices for Care program. Last year at just Lamoille Home Health, we lost $157,305 on that program. And over the last 10 years, we've subsidized the program $1.7 million, which we no longer can do. It's just not sustainable anymore. We also have our provider tax, which my tax this year is going up to $192,000. So I have to take the losses from Choices for Care plus my provider tax, and it has really become my biggest challenge in my agency. I have no prices to raise. I can't cost shift, so I depend on fundraising and gifts from folks sometimes to make that budget work. The money's important, but more important are the people, and we want to keep these people home. We want to keep them in their homes. We need to have the staff to provide the service, so we need your help to get this into the budget. So we need your help so that we can continue to help them. We need your help to make the program solvent through rate increases and provider tax relief. And ask you both, who have both been great supporters of home health, to really continue the Choices for Care need and what we need to continue the program and be able to run them through our agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Mark McAndrew. I'm the president of the board of directors of the Craftsbury Community Care Center in Craftsbury. And want to thank you fellas and all the legislators that have an open ear and are taking the time to listen to all of us this evening. The Craftsbury Community Care Center is a community-based, nonprofit, 24-bed resident senior care facility. 13 of the beds serve residents with the ability to pay privately. Since the care center's founding in 1994, approximately 9 of the beds have been reserved for low-income residents, most of whom are funded by Medicaid. The care center performs a vital role in the continuum of care for seniors in the state, as it allows seniors to maintain independent living with around-the-clock care and avoids or delays a resident being placed in a nursing home, which is a much more expensive level of care. The Care Center has 3 primary concerns to present to the committees tonight. The first is we're concerned about a cost of living increases for the Medicaid funding. The Care Center requests that it be included in the group of healthcare providers for seniors that receive cost of living increases annually for Assisted Community Care Services, ACCS, which is the base residential care rate and enhanced residential care, Medicaid reimbursements. The Care Center currently does not receive any cost of living increases and believes it and other similar residential facilities were a bit overlooked when cost of living increases were implemented for other senior health care providers. The Care Center's services are equally as important for senior residential care as the services provided by nursing homes and home health agencies that do receive cost of living increases. Therefore, the Care Center requests the ACCS and the ERC funding be adjusted by a cost of living increase. Second concern would be with the senior care workforce shortages. The Care Center is experiencing an extreme shortage of senior residential care workers, from RNs to residential assistants and others needed to care for our residents. For well over a year, the Care Center has been unable to fill needed nurse, resident assistant, and personal care attendant positions. The Care Center would support any and all efforts and initiatives undertaken by the state to increase the number of graduates of Vermont nursing programs and the number of entry-level care positions, which would provide and improve the state's ability to recruit the needed workforce. And the third concern is also a Medicaid funding issue, and want to note here that we did receive a bump last year, which was the first time in, I think, 7 years, so it was really nice to be back on the radar in Montpelier. And yet, that's still a very underfunded program. With that bump last year, we're still at about 50% of what it costs for res care for these folks, and that doesn't include the room and meals. This is just care. And so we're hoping that you can take another look at that this year and see if we can't get from the ACCS and the ERC something that would help bring that deficit down. If you look carefully at our numbers, we have anywhere between 6 and 10 Medicaid patients at any given time. And if you look at the shortfall at that and you do the math, we start out every year with a $100,000 deficit because of it. Thank you. I didn't mean to rush you. Randy? Is Randy here? Brady. Well, that's probably why.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Sorry.
No, you're good. Hello, everybody. My name is Brady Rainville, and I am an alumnus of Northern Vermont University. I went when it was Johnson State College, and now I'm back as an advisor and a part-time faculty member at NVU, and I'm here to advocate for increased funding of higher education in the state of Vermont. When I started looking into the problem, I Googled, as I do when I'm researching, and I came across an article from VPR about the issue of Vermont being 49th in the country in funding our higher education system. And I was surprised that I hadn't read this article because I oftentimes am keeping up with articles related to NVU and our system. And the reason that I hadn't read this article was because it was from 2002, and at the time I was 8 years old. So this is not a new issue, and it's something that we've been putting off for way too long. So it's time that we take action to increase the funding for our system. And I know we've been doing it incrementally over the last couple of years, but we really need to move forward with this and look at raising our average to as close to the national average as possible. Anecdotally, my mother was the first person in her family to graduate high school, and I called her before coming to this because I wanted to get some more information from her. She was the fifth in her family of sisters, and her first four sisters did not complete high school. She was able to complete high school, and she knew she wanted to go to college, and she started out of state, but it was not affordable. And back in the 80s, right around the time where this switch occurred, she was able to come back to Vermont and attend Linden State College and get her degree. And I asked her if that was going to be the case if it wasn't for the funding that she had at the time. And she said that she wasn't sure, but that she thinks that it would have put a real difficult time on her ability to do that. And so from there, my dad, no one in my dad's family went to college, so my mom was the first person to get her bachelor's degree. And education was really prioritized in my family growing up. And so for me, it wasn't a question. I graduated from Danville High School, and I was number one in my class, and I bring this up because I was able to attend Johnson tuition free. I had the opportunity to go elsewhere, but I decided to stay in state. And so I graduated debt-free, was able to go to a graduate program, get my master's, and now I'm back. And so oftentimes I hear people say, why isn't my generation staying in Vermont? One of the reasons is because of tuition. People are leaving the state to get in-state tuition elsewhere, and then they're staying. By being debt-free, I graduated, I came back, I'm working at NVU, I just bought a house in Hyde Park, and I'm able to participate more in our economy. And so by helping our funding, we're going to solve multiple issues, including many of your issues, because we're going to have a workforce that is able to help you solve your problems. So I really think that this really needs to be prioritized and not something that we're going to wait until one of our colleges are in a pinch. So thanks.
Mary? Mary Hayden? Sorry.
Oh, thank you. How many Marys are here? Thank you for the opportunity and for listening. We greatly appreciate it. I work at the Central Vermont Council on Aging, and we're headquartered in Barre, but we have a thriving office here in Morrisville, and you also heard from the Meals on Wheels folks tonight who work in Lamoille County. The reason I'm here is to talk about, from the perspective of our agency, what the funding scenario is looking like right now. So currently, we sort of put together funding from federal, state, and private fundraising sources, and then we reimburse 15 different meal sites in central Vermont, including the one here in Lamoille County in Morrisville. Presently, we are only able to reimburse $3.65 per meal, which is an average cost per meal of $10. So we're not even covering 40% of these meals right now. And that is puts quite a squeeze and a lot of pressure on our all of our meal sites to try to come up with ways to make up for that funding. They don't receive state funding, unlike many other states, and it can be really difficult. We do not have waiting lists, but a lot of our meal sites are aware of people who could use more meals or more people who could be served if there was more funding available. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're seeing in the population in terms of healthy nutrition for older Vermonters right now. So presently, and as we look to the future, as you all have heard, we're seeing an aging population, and we are therefore seeing a growing demand for more nutritious meals due to the increased population of older Vermonters. And our meal sites are striving to meet this need, and there are certain factors that we're also seeing that are impacting on the demand for meals. Those are increased numbers of older individuals in the population, I just mentioned that, the increased number of frail, vulnerable, over 85 older individuals in the communities, the increased provision of home and community-based long-term care services for older individuals rather than premature institutionalization, which in the long run saves money. We are also, Meals on Wheels is also part of the way that we can keep older Vermonters in their homes and out of institutions. More early on discharges from hospitals of older individuals when they are sicker, weaker, and in more need of supported care at home, including Meals on Wheels. And what we find is the hospitals often include Meals on Wheels as part of their discharge plans, sometimes on Friday night without telling the Meals on Wheels program. And the increased support needed for caregivers, particularly middle-aged women who are working outside the home, but are also providing ongoing care to homebound older individuals. So yes, we are here again to ask for increased funding for Meals on Wheels and community meals for seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Jess?
I think it's Jen.
Jen, geez, I'm losing here. I'm over 3, I think. Jen, how's that? Sorry.
Thanks. Hello, my name is Jen Sass. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of Lindsey Deloria, who is president of the Bolton Valley Resort. She had an engagement tonight, so I'm speaking here. She wanted to make sure her testimony is on record. Too many Vermont families can't find or afford high-quality childcare. This isn't just a problem for those families and their children, it's also a serious workforce challenge for all of Vermont. With unemployment rates so low, we have really struggled to recruit and retain employees at Bolton Valley in a variety of positions, from entry level and up. I know this challenge is not unique to us. One of our approaches to addressing this issue has been to expand our seasonal on-site childcare program to year-round full-time care. This has enabled us to retain employees who otherwise wouldn't have been able to work because of childcare. We also serve our local community with families enrolling from as far away as Waterbury, Richmond, and Huntington. We see this as an investment in both our employees and our broader community. Although I'm proud of the expansion of our childcare program, we could increase our childcare capacity to serve even more children if we could find more qualified early childcare educators. In fact, we've had a wait list for spaces since we have opened. There is a serious workforce shortage in the childcare field right now because of the economics. Research indicates that parents are paying up to 30% of their income on childcare, while early educators earn a median annual wage of approximately $29,430. To help put that in perspective, consider that the median annual wage for kindergarten teachers is twice that amount. This pay disparity makes it extremely difficult for early childhood educators to stay in the field. At Bolton Valley, because we are able to incorporate childcare into our broader business, we are able to provide benefits, but we're still unable to operate but we are still unable to offer wages compared to a K-12 teacher's salary, and our childcare program operates at a loss. Our investment in this program makes sense for our business and our community, but as a standalone business, our childcare program would not be viable. High-quality childcare is a fundamental support for working families and employers, but it isn't sustainable without a workforce that is qualified, well-supported, valued, and valued for the important work that they do. Our early childhood educators are the building the brains of future generations, enabling the parents to show up at work and be productive, and supporting our businesses to grow. I urge you to support our early childhood education workforce by investing in Vermont's Teach Scholarship program, launching a student loan repayment support program for early childhood educators, and creating a temporary wage support program for early education.
Offie?
Thank you. Hope you don't mind if I sit on the stage. I've been through a couple of things today. My brother died this afternoon. That kind of upset me a little bit. But only together 80 years, you know. Wow. And then I'm 82 myself, you know. So anyway, dear members of the House and Senate Appropriation Committee, thank you for the opportunity to comment upon the governor's recommended budget for 2021. I'm Wolfie Wortham, a Capstone board member, and live in Johnson for the last 11 years. Since 1965, Capstone Community Action has worked to help individuals and families throughout central Vermont to achieve security and rise out of poverty. I serve on Capstone's board because I am keenly aware of the challenges that so many face. Our board believes that by breaking down the barriers that prevent people from thriving, we can offer the hope people need, the dignity everyone deserves, and a better community for all. And also, one of my grandchildren is in one of the programs. I'm here to request that the legislature reverse the cuts proposed by the governor to the Micro Business Development Program, MBDP, and the individual development accounts. These cuts would eliminate two critical anti-poverty programs, the same as we hear is what's going on the federal level today. I don't know if any of you heard about that. They're operating throughout our state. Since 1988, Capstone Community Action has implemented a micro business development program, which has been embraced by the community action agencies throughout Vermont and across the country. In addition, the IDA program, now commonly referred to as the Vermont Matched Savings Program, was piloted in Vermont, and since 2001 has been providing critical opportunities for low-income Vermonters to build assets and achieve the financial goals. Since the inception of these programs, the 5 community action programs across the state have supported more than 10,000 Vermonters to become self-sufficient and help launch or expand more than 2,100 Vermont businesses. Many of these Vermonters face significant barriers to career track employment. They may be transportation or housing insecure, or struggle with disabilities that prevent them from gaining and maintaining reliable and adequate income to support the increasing cost of living in Vermont, which MBDP and IDA support. Clients find economic and self-sufficiency and dignity in self-employment. In the last 5 years, across Vermont, these programs have achieved the following. 3,666 low-income Vermonters were served. 682 business starts and expansions. 429 jobs were created. 237 IDA saving accounts opened, and $5,568,102 of capital leveraged. We see daily that our economic recovery is leaving many Vermonters behind. In 2018, 66,000 Vermonters, 1 in 9, lived in poverty. At a time when income inequality in the U.S. hit the highest levels in 50 years, it is critical that we fully fund programs that can build ladders of opportunity to economic security. These programs have been proving to be successful at relieving poverty and supporting the economy. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for supporting individuals. Thank you for supporting individuals, the economy, and our community by fully funding the important anti-poverty programs and economic development programs of MBDP and ITA.
Thank you. Mary? You can stay right there, Mary.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mary Johnson, and I have the incredible privilege of serving people at Capstone. And these two folks sitting here with us today serve us, and I'm very thankful to have a chance to publicly ask. So I'd really like to follow up with the real stories and some real stories behind those amazing figures that you just heard. And so I mostly work with micro businesses, which the majority of businesses in the United States, particularly in Vermont, are small businesses. They could be one person only. It's creating job for one person. And so I have 4 different testimonials here from 4 of our people, and Greg has another. And I just want to briefly share Aubrey's. Aubrey was raised in Vermont. She came back in 2017. She was actually fleeing a very dangerous relationship in California. She gave me permission to share this. Came back with a little person named Leo. And she found herself using every single program that's available, many of which you've spoken about tonight. Good News Garage, Aware, WIC, 3 Squares, Ready to Go Rides. And she shares in her story here, which I will submit, that she really never pictured that she would ever be, quote, one of those stereotype persons receiving state benefits and assistance. So her story is really amazing because she went on, she met with me one-on-one. I do what I consider myself a money coach, and so we talked about money. In 2019, she opened her own business in Hardwick. The name of her store is Rehair Shop. She is thrilled to be part of the business community now. She has created 4 to 6 jobs already. She borrowed $62,000 to get going and generated $80,000 her first year in business. So the micro businesses really are making a difference in our community. Briefly, another, and I'm submitting this for Jeremiah Johnson. Yes, he is my son, and I'm going to tell a little bit of his story. In 2015, he was in real trouble. He was one of those beautiful youth that needed that after-school program, and he figured it out, changed his path, and one of the things that he got involved in is the IDA, tangible asset. He bought, through that program, he saved $1,000. At that point, the federal was still matching $1,000, and so is the state of Vermont. We need to keep matching these programs. He bought film, a lens for his camera, and a drone, and is now doing wedding photography as a main part of his income. Another gal, Erin Egbert, was part of that same IDA program, $1,000 saved, $1,000 federal, $1,000 matched by Vermont. This is what this program is doing for our people in our community. She bought tools, has gone on to build furniture. She's built a tiny barn Airbnb that's now generating $79 a night. And she has used that program to launch her own small businesses. So when we talk about how critical this is, please fund the micro businesses and the IDA program. Thank you.
Just so you know, I've been informed that anybody that's parked in the roundabout out front, if your car's in the roundabout right outside the door here, they're going to start towing people. So I don't want anybody to be towed. That's an interesting way to generate money.
Is there Kurt Klein? Trying to read the, is that right? Did I get it right?
Hi, my name is Kurt Klein. I'm from the town of Wolcott, and I'm here to advocate continued support for public access GMATV. The town of Wolcott has recently engaged with GMATV to provide video cataloging for our public meetings, or select board meetings, among others. This is a result of over a petition of over 70 signatures from residents of the town wanting to get better access. We believe the decline in participation in public meetings, at least in our town, and I know in many other Vermont towns, is a result of a change in demographics where many people now commute to business centers and commercial centers and simply do not make it to all of the meeting opportunities. So we turn to GMATV. It's been a tremendous resource. We've only had 4 shoots so far, and that's resulted in over 150 views, as well as the broadcasts that GMATV is providing. So I'd like to, on behalf of Wolcott, advocate for continued support of GMATV and public access, and the $500,000 appropriation for community media centers. Thank you.
Next, I think it's John Cushman. Is John here? Assuming that's the name, but I'll go to the next person then.
Greg.
Greg is next. Here you go, Greg. Stay right there.
Over here.
Oh, sure.
Hi, I'm Greg Stefanski. I live in Johnson, and I'm the work at Capstone Community Action here in Morrisville over on Industrial Park Avenue. And I am one of those people parked in the roundabout. Interesting, they don't tow people when they come here for sport events, but I'm learning a lot about poverty in my work at Capstone. It's obviously a big issue, a complicated issue, has many different parts. And what I've learned so far is that there are some real concerning stories and data points, and there are also some encouraging stories and data points. When you look at U.S. trend lines, poverty, and also in our state, poverty over the last couple of decades is on an increase. And probably not surprising, especially with some of the stories you've heard tonight. Concerning. To look back, though, a few decades, and if you go back to when poverty numbers were first officially counted, which you have to go back to about 1964, you see that from 1964 to about 1974, there was a decrease of almost 8%, or a decrease from 19% to 11%. Interestingly enough, that was the same time that President Johnson had launched the war on poverty. So you see that our government and our institutions focusing on a particular issue, and some significant changes could happen. Encouraging. Looking at, as it was mentioned earlier, a budget that was proposed by the governor proposes cutting funding for individual development accounts and the micro business development program. Concerning. And Mary shared a few stories, and I just want to mention another quick story of a person here in our community who benefited significantly, so that we can see the connection between these statistics and data in individual lives here in our community. Jody Martin, a massage therapist and Reiki master here and opened her business in 2012 in Morrisville, Vermont, sole owner and operator, and she's benefited significantly from the financial education and small business workshops that Capstone Community Action provides. Listen to the story and see if this rings a bell for yourself or someone you know. I struggled in high school and did not know what I wanted out of life or who I was. I just barely graduated. I worked many minimum wage jobs until massage therapy dropped into my lap. Margaret Ferguson of Capstone Community Action's Micro Business Development Program has helped me to do my taxes every year since 2012, which is such a relief as there are so many things to keep track of. With the help of Mary Johnson, who we heard from earlier, who works for Capstone, my money coach, I bought my first home. She helped me understand what my credit score meant and how to get the most out of using my credit cards. Without Capstone, I would never had the tools to become a homeowner and a business owner. So encouraging. And I guess the last point I want to make is that this story, while about one individual and one business, we know that there's a ripple effect in our lives when we're struggling and when we're doing well. Another statistic, and this is a Vermont statistic, the statewide child poverty rate right now is 16.5%. The childhood poverty rate for our county, Lamoille County, is 23.3%. So these are significant issues. They are affecting people in our community. They're affecting children in our community. And we'd ask that our legislators do whatever they can to restore funding for those two programs. Thank you very much. Does anyone else need a car?
Kelly? Kelly from Waterbury?
Kelly Richardson?
Kelly, okay, next.
Sonia?
Sonia? Yes, fair trade.
Fair trade. I'm Sonia Schuyler. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I'm here tonight to talk about the Vermont Suffrage Centennial Alliance. As you may know, 2020 is the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. And when I look around at this audience, I can see how important that has been in our communities and in our state. The Vermont Suffrage Centennial Alliance is a group of 37 organizations and 18 individuals. The League of Women Voters in 2018 reached out to the community to ask for people who are interested in celebrating this important milestone. The Alliance is totally volunteer oriented, but it does take some money to provide some of the programs that we are providing. The culmination event will be on August 22nd, which will be the Suffrage Fest and Parade in Montpelier. In addition, we have various symposiums. I think some of the legislators may have been to the Farmers' Night this past week that was part of the celebration. The Alliance is requesting a one-time $20,000 appropriation to cover the costs of the celebration of the centennial. Representative Kimberly Jessup will be submitting this proposal to the committee, and I'm here to request support for this small but important way to memorialize and celebrate the right to vote and to motivate people to continue to use this right to vote so that we can support all these wonderful programs that we're hearing about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Lamb?
Thank you. I am Kate Lamb. I live here in Morrisville and work at Sun Common in HR, which we call Happiness Resources. I'm here tonight to urge that investments in high-quality childcare for working families is a priority for the Vermont State Budget. Finding and affording childcare is a stressful challenge for too many Vermont families. I know this firsthand as a working mother with a now 8-year-old young Vermonter. And of course, I'm not alone. New research found that 3 out of 5 Vermont infants likely to need childcare don't have access to any properly regulated childcare programs. When families are lucky enough to find a spot, they are spending up to 30% of their income on childcare, even with financial assistance from the state. This is borne out in a survey of Sun Common's 200 employees. Finding and affording childcare was the second highest concern. Employees asked that we advocate for better access to childcare at the state level, as well as help with the cost. This isn't just a problem for those families and their children, it's also a serious workforce challenge for Vermont. At Sun Common, we've seen firsthand how a lack of access to high-quality, affordable childcare directly impacts our ability to recruit and retain a productive workforce. This year alone, we had 2 employees who returned to work following parental leave with reduced schedules because childcare was not available. Another employee only works 4 days a week because it is financially more sustainable for his family than paying for a 5th day of childcare. Vermont's aging workforce, coupled with our low unemployment rate, make it crucial that we invest in strategies that will allow Vermonters who want and need to work to do so, and support young people in Vermont, allow them to stay here and enter the workforce. A huge pool of underemployed Vermonters should be able to join our businesses, but access to childcare is an impediment for too many people in reaching their work potential and fulfilling our state's open jobs. As an employer, I know that affordable access to high-quality childcare ensures that parents know their kids are safe and can make the best choices for their families and careers. Communities thrive as Vermont's workforce and economy prosper. To make childcare work in Vermont, we need to increase investments in the community heroes who take care of our children while we work. So I urge you to set the reimbursement rates to keep childcare providers' heads above water, provide scholarships through Vermont's TEACH program, support early childhood educators with a student loan repayment support program to ease the burden of crushing college student debt, create a temporary wage support program to get early childhood educators out of poverty, and establish a pilot to engage employers, early childhood educators, and community partners to strengthen early care and education program capacity. I know Suncommon would participate. We're talking about what's needed to support working Vermont families, strengthen the workforce, and prepare the next generation to take over the economy. Thank you for the opportunity to share our views.
Brianne Wilson.
Cozy, yeah. Hi, my name is Brianna Wilson. I live in Cambridge and I work as an early educator in Lamoille County. I am here to talk to you also about investing in the early childhood education workforce. For most of my career, I worked in Milton at the Milton Family Community Center as their preschool teacher. It's also a parent-child center like we've heard about tonight, wraparound services, serving families in a low-income space. And it was really a job that fed my passion. It gave me the opportunity to provide services to families to meet their basic needs and aid in their growth. While I was working full-time, I also completed my bachelor's degree at Linden. But that took me over 6 years because I strategically planned so that I would not have student debt, because I knew that entering early education nationwide, we have the lowest salary entering the workforce as someone with a bachelor's degree. So it took me a long time to do that, and I'm glad that I did, but even working full-time, receiving in-state tuition, and receiving scholarships, I still had to take out some student loans, and I knew I wouldn't be able to pay them back working in early education, specifically in the nonprofit sector. So I had a difficult choice to make: either stay with my organization that I loved and the passion that I had for these kids and these families, or enter a private school where I could have a little bit more of a chance for wage increase, but I wouldn't be serving those families that really need it. So I ended up leaving my job and going into private education for that reason. The wage increase is not that much, and I still will struggle to pay my bills. I know that staying in Vermont is going to be a hard thing. I won't be able to financially support a family or try and buy a house with my current wages. And if I choose to keep being a preschool teacher. So my perspective here is as an early educator, and I ask you to consider investing in Vermont's TEACH scholarship program so the burden of our loans on our graduates is much less. And I also ask you to consider launching a student loan repayment program for early education graduates who cannot repay the investment that they already made into the field. And to continue our path for quality care. Thank you for your time.
Next up is Catherine. there a Catherine? Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, just speak loud.
Okay. I'll come a little closer to you too. Thanks for having me and for making the time for all of us, and hopefully we'll get you out of here soon. My name is Catherine Cusack. I'm the Executive Director for Green Mountain Farm to School up in Newport, Vermont. I'm here tonight to advocate for funding for farm to school and early childhood. The benefits of increasing access to farm to school programs are many. Farm to school programming is working to improve childhood nutrition and increase the connection students have to their local communities, and empowering kids to make healthy food choices that last a lifetime. At Green Mountain Farm to School, we often hear from parents of the students we work with about starting a home garden or purchasing a vegetable that they wouldn't have otherwise purchased. A highlight of my year is watching as students serve their families and neighbors during harvest festivals after gardens are harvests. Students are eager to share what crop they planted, then harvested, and then what hand they had in preparing the evening's meal and what they learned in the process. The pride from both students and families is palpable. My own children are also involved in farm-to-school programming at their school, and they show much excitement after they have tried a new recipe during a taste test, dig deep into their backpacks, find the recipe card that was sent home, and be sure that I see it and will make it for them. And those are just some of the benefits to families and raising healthy kids. I can go on about the benefits to farmers, and reinvestment into the local economy. For every $1 spent on local food in a school cafeteria, $1.60 is then reinvested back into the local economy. And I think there's a bill in front being presented to have a local food incentive match for schools. That's not here what I'm about, but I'm just going to plug that one anyway. The request that I'm here is that we know that we need $500,000 annually in farm to school and early childhood program, and for 2021, please work toward getting us to that $500,000. At the very least, please try to not let the farm to school funding decrease from the 231 base that it's currently at. I think it is on the chopping block, and would just really advocate for it not to go below that 231,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony? There's Tony.
Thank you. Hi there, my name is Tony Risitano. I'm a resident of Wolcott, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Deep Root Organic Cooperative in Johnson to express my support for new state funding in the amount of $500,000 for the Vermont Food Bank to scale up the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program. Deep Root is a farmer-owned cooperative of 23 organic vegetable farms located throughout Vermont and southern Quebec. We serve wholesale markets throughout New England and the East Coast. And from season to season, the nature of our industry is full of unpredictability. Various factors out of our control, such as weather variability, market surplus, and changes in customer buying habits, have real-time effects on the success of our business. Going into a growing season is a leap of faith from year to year. Neither volume of sales nor pricing is guaranteed. This is why the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program has been so impactful for us. With Vermonters Feeding Vermonters, we're able to go into the season knowing we have a guaranteed sale at pricing that's been agreed upon ahead of time and that we can count on. Over the past few growing seasons, the Vermonters Feeding Vermonters program has generated nearly $35,000 in sales for Deep Root member farms located in Hardwick, Johnson, Fairfax, Richford, Ascutney, and Jericho. By allocating funding, you will allow for this program to reach more farms and have an even greater impact on the viability of their business. Aside from the economic impacts that this program has on local farms, I'd be remiss in not acknowledging that the broader issue of food insecurity in our communities is the real driver behind programs such as this. As we see the struggle of our neighbors in bringing good, healthy food into their homes, it's encouraging to see this innovative program help address that issue head on. Thanks for your consideration.
Dave. Sure. Good evening. My name is Doug Borbin. I'm here to advocate for funding for public broadcasting. I'm the chairman of the board of directors for Green Mountain Access Television, which is filming this meeting tonight. Mic drop. Okay. I've also taught media literacy at Lamoille Union High School and the Green Mountain Technical and Career Center for more than 20 years. A lot has changed in the media world since I started teaching, but one fact remains: the airwaves we broadcast on have always belonged to the public. Moving through the very air that we breathe, they do not belong to the corporate world or the government. Yet even as commercial television stumbles slowly toward extinction like a 21st century dinosaur, we continue to see one attack after another on what I believe is the last frontier of free speech and First Amendment rights. By continuing to fund public access broadcasting, you are serving the Vermont public in the best way possible. I don't think the average person realizes the self-serving political and corporate greed that has been eroding the original mandates of the FCC since 1927, when they declared that the broadcast airwaves were a public resource. And there's no question that public access broadcasting is a tremendous resource. As a board member, I've seen the great work our station does in the community, filming performances at local schools and the college, keeping people informed with our coverage of local select boards. And as a teacher, I've seen the amazement in the eyes of students when they enter a real working television station for the first time, and their hilarious attempts to read from a teleprompter when making their own news shows. Certainly, in Vermont, we expect our government entities to value the independence, self-reliance, and common sense that separate us from the rest of the country. Funding public access to broadcasting ensures that Vermonters will continue to have a rational voice in the midst of an increasingly irrational world. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Next, somebody wanted to speak about working lands, either Len or Levi. Levi, all right, one or the other.
So I'm Levi Bourne with Bourne's Energy, but I'm here to speak on behalf of the Working Lands Coalition. So as a grant recipient from Working Lands, Bourne's Energy has been able to build infrastructure right here in Lamoille County to help open up bulk wood pellet delivery to the entire state of Vermont, making locally sourced wood pellets accessible to all Vermonters. Without the help of Working Lands, we would not have been able to manage the rapid growth of pellet sales, which has compelled us to hire additional pellet truck delivery drivers. We have also seen an increased need for skilled technicians to install and service these automated wood heating systems, which has led to training of our service staff, increasing their job skills and value. And this doesn't account for the additional jobs created in or sustained in the logging industry, trucking, and the mill sites themselves. With the help of the Working Lands, bulk pellet delivery market has outgrown the capacity of local pellet producers. We believe that increasing the production of high-quality wood pellets within the state of Vermont is the next step to the growth of a strong wood pellet market, forestry industry, and bolstering of the renewable energy economy. And I want to point out that we are currently in a facility that's heated with wood pellets that are sourced outside of the state of Vermont. So, thank you. Please continue to support the Working Lands.
Say hi to your dad for me. Brittany? Certainly.
So I first wanted to start by thanking you for hosting the event this evening. Despite the current national political atmosphere, I take heart in trusting that on some level, our political voices can still be heard in a public forum. My name is Brittany Rhodes, and I work for Lamoille County Mental Health Services, and I've lived in this county for the last 14 years. I work as an adult clinician, and I also serve as the president for our 150-member union. I attended Johnson State College for both my undergraduate and graduate school education. And I am an example of the population that is leaving our state in search of reasonable and livable wages. But somehow I stayed. I'm now a licensed clinical mental health counselor, but I began working for LCMHS in 2012 as a new and young case manager working part-time. Because of the skills that I've been able to learn, I've been able to earn a livable wage as a single person, but it's far from a competitive wage and does not yet reach Sarah Squirrel's goal of wage parity that she stated in her 2030 10-year vision plan. I'm here to advocate on behalf of my clients, but also my coworkers. Many of my coworkers qualify for state-funded health insurance, fuel assistance, and child care subsidies. Many of my coworkers work 2 jobs, especially those that are single parents. LCMHS served 110 people and provided almost 91,000 individual services in the last fiscal year. But we still have high rates of turnover because people are overworked and underpaid. More often than not, the folks who work on the front line make up the lowest paid workers who often support some of our most vulnerable clients. Our staff work hard, physically and emotionally, to ensure that our most vulnerable residents of Lamoille County receive the care that they need. For example, I have a client who has had 5 case managers in the last 5 years. Can you imagine how hard it is to form a trusting relationship with a new provider when you're feeling guarded and worried that they'll just leave too? The turnover doesn't just impact the availability of other community resources, but it deeply impacts our clients. LCMHS is the designated agency, and we serve everyone, regardless of their ability to pay. We ask that the Appropriations Committee continues to fund and increase the funding available to ensure that our ability to provide excellent services is continued.
Thank you. I'm Victoria Zolnowski from Walden. I want to thank you for offering this meeting. I'm a 31-year adjunct professor at NVU Johnson. I graduated from Johnson State College, and I'm here requesting support for funding for higher education. Vermont is ranked 49th in funding. It's a very sad number. In the 80s, funding was at 51%. It's now at 14%. This lack of funding means our students pay higher tuitions, the second highest, I think, in the country, and salaries are the lowest. My salary is so low that I pay less than $10 a month for my Vermont Health Connect health bill. I'm in my 60s now, and I realize that if I work until I'm 70, after I pay my house insurance, property tax, auto insurance, and buy firewood and oil, I will only have $1,400 for the whole year to buy my food and gas for my car. That's 31 years of teaching at the college I love and a job I love. And we wonder why students are leaving the state. They can't afford to stay here. I love Vermont. My parents were Vermonters, and I'm not going to leave, but I'm going to need all the assistance I can get as an adult after spending my life educating Vermonters. Please support higher education and the Vermont State College system. Thank you.
Rachel, you're next.
Thank you. You don't have to get up. My name is Rachel Duffy. I'm a resident of Moorestown, and I'm here to support the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. A couple of weeks ago, I was thrilled that the governor included money in his budget, which will be matched by federal money. I think it's about four times as much federal money as state money. And other people, I think including you, Senator Westman, have spoken about the economic benefits, which I truly believe. I've biked a little bit other places. I haven't been to the Petite North, which Hans Hussey wrote about in Quebec. But people do go on bike tours elsewhere, and they do spend money places they go. And I think you, Senator Westman, and Hans Hussey use the term Jewel of Vermont, this 95-mile rail trail. So I just wanted to thank you for that support. You guys know more about the economics than I do, but I just want to briefly mention what I see. I actually teach here. Warmer weather, I'll often bike out the rail trail. And I'm just always astounded by the variety of people I see. Various shapes and sizes, some on foot, some on bikes, some in wheelchairs, which is a wonderful opportunity for people in wheelchairs. And people I have not seen on roads on bikes. I have many friends who are afraid, understandably, to ride on roads. One friend who works here hadn't ridden a bike in 20 years, and now she rides every day. I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for Vermont. So thank you, and I hope it stays in the budget.
Great. Leah is next. Behind you, Rachel.
Catch.
Hi, I'm Leah Hollenberger. I'm a resident of Morrisville. I am also the External Relations Officer for Northern Vermont University. I work across both campuses on Johnson and Linden. And I'd like to first of all, thank you very, very much. I appreciate the time that you provide and the passion and the commitment that you've shown our community, and we're very grateful for that. We're very blessed. I want to make just a few points about NVU, which was created with the unification of Johnson State College and Linden State College. And we're only 18 and a half months into that unification, but we've accomplished a lot. We offer professional and liberal arts education that prepares students to be critical thinkers and engaged citizens, just like we are here tonight. And it's designed to meet the workforce development needs of our communities. And with that, I mean hands-on, real-world experience, but also the soft skills that employers are looking for, such as flexibility, critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, discipline, and communications. And our students of all ages, of course, we have young people coming out of high school that are looking for that traditional campus residency-based college experience, but we also have a number of folks, including mid-career professionals who are looking to get an additional degree or learn some new information, acquire some new skills. We also have folks that are looking to do a later in life career change, and so they may be pursuing that option using NVU Online. And our goal is to provide on-ramps and off-ramps for students of all ages in order to do that. So just to give you a few facts, 70% of NVU students are in-state. Of the folks using NVU Online, 76% of them are Vermonters, and the age range is quite diverse. We also offer bite-size learning skills, boot camps for data analytics, for Microsoft skills that allow people to pop in and get the skills that they need, and then later, if they want to pursue a degree, they can do so further. We're also working with several area employers for custom training to meet their workforce needs. NVU recently figured out that our total economic impact conservatively is $113 million in the northern tier of Vermont. And that does not include what our students are spending in the community for food, rent, gas, recreation, and nor does it include the 18,000 visitors that the campus attracts for prospective students and their families, as well as folks attending cultural events on our campuses. So I ask, I know every dollar counts and we have limited resources, but when you're looking at your budget, you want to make sure that you get a good return on your investment. I would ask that you consider Northern Vermont University and the state colleges as a whole as a very good strategic investment as we try to keep Vermonters here in Vermont and also allow them to have a good life and a quality life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kendra McGuire, and I'm a resident here in Morrisville. I'm also a teacher at Apple Tree Learning Centers in Stowe. Our center has a range of classroom ages, and I've been fortunate enough to spend the last few years learning about early childhood education from the perspective of a new teacher. As we consider Vermont's childcare future, it is important that we prioritize the early education workforce. I'm also a recent graduate of Northern Vermont University at Johnson, and I'm very grateful to have all the opportunities to grow professionally. I'm currently taking advantage of the certificate program offered through Vermont After School, and I'm enrolled in CCV courses and am able to attend for free. So I am asking you to continue supporting programs like TEACH, scholarships for continuing education, loan repayment support, and wage supplements that would further improve the early childhood education field and demonstrate the importance on quality childcare. Every day, I see the need for quality childcare across all ages. We need to increase opportunities for teachers to encourage them to keep doing the work that they love. It is unfortunate that many young parents working in the early childhood education field are struggling to pay their own childcare fees. Unfortunately, this is not sustainable. Teachers continue to reach for higher education and complete certificate programs in order to better themselves in their programs. However, they are still finding it difficult to increase their own financial stability. Our working teachers should be appropriately compensated and supported so that the field as a whole can strengthen and we can continue to provide high-quality childcare to all families. I ask you to support continuing education programs, loan repayment support, and increased wages. Because when we invest in our teachers, we continue to invest in our children. Thank you very much.
Next is Patrick. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having this meeting. I'm going to take a slightly different approach here. I want to talk about where there is money. It's very sad and discouraging to hear all the unmet need in this state, which, as far as I can tell, seems to grow, not shrink. I could go into great deal of detail about that, but one of the things I want to bring up tonight for their benefit is, for the life of me, I don't understand why the state of Vermont is supporting the development of an entirely new and entirely unnecessary, in my opinion, healthcare organization called One Care Vermont, which is basically a creature of the UVM Medical Center, to do health reform. It is not doing health reform at all, and it's costing a ton of money, and it's not even succeeding. It's a total waste of money. The administrative costs alone are $20 million in this coming year. Now, if we have $20 million that we don't know what to do with, there's a lot of people in this room who have pretty good ideas about better ways to spend it, in my opinion. So number one is we really should, and One Care is coming in and asking for even more Medicaid money this year, and it's in the governor's budget. Total waste of time. There's a much better way to approach healthcare reform in this state, and we are missing the mark. So that's number one. Number two, I want to talk for a minute about climate change. We are failing our children on climate change. We are doing next to nothing in this state. And most people in the state have absolutely no idea how bad the situation is. I don't blame them. It's complicated. You have to do research. But it's a very bad situation for our kids and our grandkids. And there are a few young people in this room. And if we don't do more and do it soon, we are leaving them a world that it will be absolutely dastardly. So how are we ever going to afford to deal with that? Well, when the Trump administration passed their tax cuts, the top 5% of Vermont taxpayers got a $300 million tax break. $300 million. They didn't even ask for it. It wasn't even in the governor's budget. The legislature never did anything about it. But they got a huge tax break, and they've been enjoying that tax break. And I would argue that we should take even a small percentage of that, 10%, and use it to fund services that will actually address climate change and take a step towards solving the problem for our children. So there is money, folks. We're misusing the money that we have.
Michael? Thank you, Patrick.
So I'm Michael Hartman. I'm the executive director at Lamoille County Mental Health, where Brittany works, does a great job. And I want to thank David and Rich and Dan and Avram for coming out and listening to folks. It's always, I know, difficult to hear how long the list really is and how little there is that necessarily 4 legislators could try to do about it. But I appreciate the efforts, and you've all always been pretty dedicated to helping people with mental health, substance use, and developmental issues in their lives. And I know that you know, because we've talked about the challenges that exist in the county here around those issues and the pressures that there are for families who are in poverty and then have those kinds of health issues and other health issues on top of that, which create problems with how they can raise their children, how they support their children, how they sometimes need to be supported by their parents and their children, and also how we try to, on our end, help all of those folks stay in housing, stay healthy, and try to have the best life they can. But as Brittany referred to earlier, one of the biggest challenges that we face is that because of the line of work we're in, because 95% of the dollars that we earn as an agency come through the state Medicaid fund, we really have some pretty severe limits on how well we can do the services that we need to do, and also be able to provide the health services that are required to do all those services. So we have a lot of folks who are working and have high school and associate degree education and are doing excellent work with folks. A lot of people with a lot of experience in their lives doing excellent work with folks. But one of the core pieces to a community mental health center is that we also have to have psychiatrists. We also have to have nursing. We also have to have licensed folks, as Brittany was referring to, people with master's degrees and sometimes doctorate level. And for them to take salaries that are often, on average, I just went through the state chart today and found that in 7 positions that we hire, the average difference between our ability to pay for those positions, and this is all starting pay, is all kind of the lowest end of the entry levels for these jobs, we pay on average about $12,000 less than people than people who work for the state, and the variance can be as little as $8,500, but as much as $18,000. And we can't not have those people. We have to have them in order to do the billing to get the Medicaid dollars. And so what we find is that as Patrick was talking about investment and trying to figure out where the money is, that one of the pieces about our system, and this is just on the mental health side of the system, there was once, when I was born, there were 1,300 people at the Vermont State Hospital, and that would have cost almost $1 billion in today's dollars for those people to be in that hospital. That gets now pulled off for about $280 million. And on a local level, if you were just looking at Lamoille, we're 5% of that. So that would have been $47 million. But instead, our budget is $17 million. So the investment, we're one of those things that over time has actually gotten less expensive because we're serving as many people as used to be served by the hospital. So I want to just encourage you to consider all the things that people have talked about have been really important here for sure. But one of the key pieces about health is being able to have the health providers who unfortunately end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars that they got to pay back, and it's increasingly hard. We've had some positions open now for 6-7 months, and it's been very difficult for us to fill those. So just want to encourage you to take that, and thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Becky?
Thank you. Hello. I'm Becky Gagne. I'm the Executive Director at the Clarina Howard Nichols Center, based here in Morrisville, serving Lamoille County. We're the nonprofit advocacy and shelter organization that serves survivors of domestic violence, sexual violence, stalking, and human trafficking. Last year, we served over 400 individuals, responded to over 1,100 hotline calls, operate a shelter that has 6 bedrooms, which means at any given time we can have 6 households living with us who have fled their homes because of domestic or sexual violence. We provide advocacy and support services every day. We're in the courts, we're in schools, we're out in the community, raising awareness about what we do, doing prevention work, and supporting folks who are either currently still in situations and trying to figure out what their next move is and how they can get safe, or they've come to us and they're trying to figure out again what their next moves are. We have a small staff, 5 advocates. We have a very small number of volunteers that staff our hotline as well after hours and on the weekends, and we have a budget of about $450,000 a year. We are asking that for a $500,000 increase statewide, as proposed by the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. Those funds flow through the Vermont Center for Crime Victim Services out to our 15 member organizations and the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. The last increase we received from the state was in 2008, so it's been a pretty long time. Statewide, our member organizations served 8,745 individuals last year. This increase, were we to get it, Clarina would receive about $20,000. That amount of money in a $450,000 budget is huge for us. It doesn't necessarily let us expand services. It really, what it does for me as the executive director is not to look at cutting services. It allows me to retain my staff. It allows me to continue to provide health insurance. This year we saw a 15% increase in our health insurance costs for our staff. I don't know how I sustain that moving forward. Currently, our budget, 58% is funded by state, federal, and local government, and 42% is funded by foundations and fundraising efforts. So we're doing a lot to raise money. Our community is incredibly supportive. We have great foundation support, but there's also a limit to all of that as well. So I hope to be able to keep my great staff as I build next year's budget and offer insurance, maintain my shelter facilities, and really ensure safety for our community, because really no adult or child should be afraid in their own home.
Before we conclude, is there anyone who didn't get an opportunity to speak who might like to? Is that a hand up? Two hands? Hold on. Well, you've got up to 3 minutes. Here you
Okay. I'd like to thank the Academy. That was fun. Okay. Sorry. Okay. My name's Susan Russell, and I'm the program coordinator for the the Lamoille Community Food Share. I've been with Food Share for a little over a year and have witnessed firsthand on a daily basis the importance of fresh fruits and vegetables to the people we serve. One example is a woman who was very overweight and was fighting for custody of her grandchildren. She wasn't allowed to have custody until she lost weight, and she asked for our help. Because we allow people to come into the Food Share daily for fresh fruits and vegetables, she was able to change her diet and lose the weight. And we see every day that people really, like, they walk in the door and just break out into a huge grin when the bins are full of fresh fruits and vegetables, because a lot of the times it's cans. And so it's really important to get the fresh fruits and vegetables. I'm here to speak in favor of Vermonters feeding Vermonters and to express my strong support for new state funding in the amount of $500,000 for the Vermont Food Bank to scale up their Vermonters Feeding Vermonters initiative. This initiative, I know you've already heard about it, but it's a new program, and it provides people in Vermont who are facing hunger with healthy food, local food, while supporting the state's agricultural economy, an integral component of the Vermont way of life. I know that Vermonters Feeding Vermonters has direct benefits for the families receiving the food and also for the state of Vermont. Specifically, families see better health outcomes when they have access to and eat fresh local produce. Farmers have more financial security when they have contracts ahead of time to purchase large quantities of their produce. So I'd like to ask for your support of that program.
Thank you. Gentleman in back.
Oh.
Sorry.
I'm Kenny Smith. It's been my privilege. It's been my privilege to serve on the Capstone board as the Lamoille participant representative since the end of 2018, and I'm now serving as the alternate. I didn't bring a prepared statement. You should count your blessings, because I can barely send a text without it turning into a novel. I will say this. I've been the beneficiary of several capstone programs. I'd like to speak for people who don't always have a voice in the community, maybe folks that have adverse childhood experiences that follow them into adulthood, and folks that understand what living from poverty is like. So it's wonderful to be a part of trying to help folks lift themselves. I've always been partial to the underdog, and I think the most glorious stories are those people that come up from under and do something, especially when they give back to the community. So I'm here to advocate for the match savings program and the micro business program, because I know when I finally get my feet firmly planted on the ground, that's what I have my sights on. So please fund those programs. Thanks very much for hearing me.
Well, we're going to conclude things here. It's an understatement to say that this has been very sobering. I guess what you've all had is an opportunity to see what it's like briefly to serve on the Committee of Appropriations. We get this all the time, but not from people we know often. So thank you. I'll ask Rich if he's got any closing comments.
No, my closing comments would be just to thank you all for coming. And we are available all the time to, if you want to contact us. And if you see stuff coming up in the legislature, do contact us because it is important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.